Hello, this is Meme Analysis, and today we're going to be taking another look at Wilhelm Reich and a few of the thinkers that I think he will give a great surplus understanding and just generally flesh out a theory of love and energetics. So let's take a look. This is from the essay Orgonomic Functionalism. He says, "The knowledge of the law of love leads to the knowledge of the law of life, and that of the law of life leads to the knowledge of God." And further, that God equals life equals cosmic orgone energy equals orgonomic functional law of nature. Now, I think that's extremely interesting because we compare the law of life and the law of love. And there's one great figure that we know who has a statement very like it, which is, "Love is the law," from Aleister Crowley and the Holy Book, the Book of the Law. "Do what thou wilt" is the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will. So we get a look at a driven form of love. It has no relation to the kind of pop culture love, to the oftentimes trashy, poetic love. What we're looking at is a true, selfless, cosmic love, which I'm going to flesh out in a bit with a quote from Carl Jung. But with this, we see what love means in the context of Aleister Crowley. When you read the segment of the Book of Thoth on the Tower, Crowley makes it clear that love is not what many people think it is, but in fact it is Schopenhauer's will to life and will to death, which of course we can see unified in Nietzsche's will to power. And speaking of the will to power, there's a great quote in this chapter which delves into an idea that I think is one of the most important from Nietzsche. So I'll continue. "It is a matter of deciding the question whether nature is an empty space with a few widely scattered specks, or whether it is a space full of cosmic primordial energy, a continuum which functions in a lively way and obeys a generally valid natural law." So I'm going to read a bit from Nietzsche's Will to Power, and we'll see how they compare. "And do you know what the world is to me? Shall I show it to you in my mirror? This world, a monster of energy, without beginning, without end, a firm iron magnitude of force that does not grow bigger or smaller, that does not expend itself but only transforms itself, as a whole of unalterable size, a household without expenses or losses, but likewise without increase or income, enclosed by nothingness, as by a boundary, not by something blurry or wasted, not something endlessly extended, but set in a definite space as a definite force, and not a space that might be empty here or there, but rather as force throughout, as a play of forces and waves of forces, at the same time one and many, increasing here and at the same time decreasing there, a sea of forces flowing and rushing together, eternally changing." That mirrors Wilhelm Reich's idea of an orgone ocean, of a libidinal ocean of space, so perfectly. We can really see the lineage of these energetic philosophies traveling from Nietzsche through Freud and into Reich, where I think it begins to reach its peak. But, as I'll talk about in another video, the ideas of energy, libido, and thanatos that Reich had are passed on to Nick Land, and they become something perhaps even more interesting and strange, but perhaps not as truthful, not as immediate to our souls and to our minds. In many of my videos, I've talked about energetics and the energy that flows into a meme that gives it energy. I think it really does matter where this is occurring. The internet is not a vacuum. In fact, the internet is a perfect microcosm of that monster of energy. It is a constant flow and swarm of attention and sexual energy, constantly seeking the perfect expression. It might even be mirrored in something as vulgar as memes about how long it takes to find the right thing to get you off, or to find the meme that you lost when you were scrolling. There's always something that hooks you and something that you keep on looking for. The energy doesn't go away, ever. So, we have to take a look at what love is. So stay tuned. Now this is from Jung's Memories, Dreams, Reflections. Love bears all things and endures all things. These words say all there is to be said. Nothing can be added to them. For we are in the deepest sense the victims and the instruments of cosmogonic love. I put the word in quotation marks to indicate that I do not use it in its connotations of desiring, preferring, favoring, wishing, and similar feelings, but as something superior to the individual, a unified and undivided whole. Being apart, man cannot grasp the whole. He is at its mercy. He may assent to it or rebel against it, but he is always caught up by it and enclosed within it. He is dependent upon it and is sustained by it. Love is his light and his darkness, whose end he cannot see. Love ceases not, whether he speaks with the tongues of angels or with the scientific exactitude traces the life of the cell down to its uttermost source. Man can try to name love, sharing upon it all names at his command, and still he will involve himself in endless self-deceptions. I think that captures Reich's idea of love, and Crowley's idea of love, and Nietzsche's idea of the will to power so beautifully, so perfectly. The meaning of God is love, and the meaning of love itself. So it becomes clear what is meant by these thinkers when they talk about the influence of love on reality, and how reality is constituted by love. It is that energy, it is that love, which I talk about when I talk about memes being produced. They are produced out of love. They are produced out of something horrifying and super personal, something totally beyond our comprehension, not something petty and personal. Give a bit of respect to the meme. Look at how powerful they can be, what influence they can hold over how many people. And remember, memes matter.